So part of my Saturday routine is after I get through doing yard work and taking the trash to the dump, and no, that's not a euphemism. That's actually taking trash to the dump. One time I said that to somebody, and they're like, "What do you mean by that?" Anyway, we live way out in the county, so they don't have trash service out here. So I take it to a local dump. Anyway, tangent. But my Saturday routine is to just kind of clean up my model desk, no matter what state the projects are in. I find if I clean it up on Saturday, take a little time to do that, then I'm just better able to focus throughout the rest of the week when I just only have time to just sit down, do some stuff, then I got to get up and go do something else. So I was cleaning and I thought, hey, why not turn on the camera? Because I'm sure everybody wants to hear what you think on a Saturday afternoon, John. Probably not, but anyway, I've got the what is this thing called? Rogal Dorn battle tank, mostly built. The turret's on. It's not fixed on. It's just got the little tabs holding it in place. And I'm pretty happy with how this thing is looking. It looks 40K definitely, but it looks tankish too. Especially the shape of the turret, a little bit with the shape of the hull. The sides look, of course, that's where the 41K aesthetic comes through. But as I was working with the turret, I thought, man, this looks almost like it was inspired by like an M46 or something like that. One of the late World War II tanks that kind of was the predecessor of the more modern tanks. So I'm really happy with how this is turning out. I love using these plastic containers to keep parts in for a project. It just helps me keep things lined up. I've got these two main guns, well, two main gun sets. There's two big cannons and then one big cannon and one small cannon. And they just go in there like that. I'm looking at some ways of magnetizing it. I've got some ideas. I still haven't decided on which one I'm going to use. But I think it would just be an opportunity lost to not magnetize those and have those in there. It's got these two barrels that go like fuel barrels that go on the back. They just fit right there like that. And it was two-part, and there was a seam up here on the top, which was fairly easy to take care of, but there was a seam right in the middle of the barrels themselves. And I tried to clean them up and just wasn't having much success with it. So I just put a piece of tape over it, cut it out, used the tape as a template for cutting out some very, very thin plastic card, glued that on, and that'll work. That'll do, pig, that'll do. These fenders are going to go on here. I haven't glued them on yet because in doing, one of the videos for this tank is going to be about putting the tracks on. Stay in place, you. About putting the tracks on. And one of the things I want to demonstrate is that if there are fenders on the tank using this method, you've got to test if you can get the track up under the fender or not. And if not, how do you deal with that? So I'm going to leave these fenders off. I've already tested it. I know it's going to work. But to demonstrate it in the video, I'm going to leave these off, and so I can demonstrate it, I guess you'd say, the correct way, or a way that's going to be helpful. Let me rephrase that. It's helpful to me, but eventually I'll glue these on even before the tracks are on, because I can, like I said, I can just slide them up under there. And it's got these fenders. I thought about leaving them off, but then they've got all this really great stowage that goes on the fenders. And if you don't put it on the fenders, there's not a whole lot of other space to put the stowage. So I thought, I'm going to put the fenders on just so I can add all of this cool stowage that comes with the kit, because that'll be fun to paint. Who knows? I may squeeze an extra episode out of that. But that's also part of it. I've got all the figures built. This is we'll call him Captain. Major. He's Captain Shouty. And here's Private Shouty. He's the gunner because he's going to go in the gunner's position. And then here's another Private Shouty. He's the one who's going to be standing on the back with the machine gun. And if I were a reasonable videographer, if I knew how to do this, if I had actual camera and actual skills at doing videos, I would do something that alluded to Bohemian Rhapsody, you know. I'm just a poor guardsman from a poor family. He's just a poor guardsman from a poor family. Spare him, you know. Because I picked them all because they're all shouting, because I think it's just funny that, you know, what are they shouting? They're shouting, killed a wabbit, killed a wabbit. No, I haven't been drinking this afternoon. I'm just having fun. But anyway, that's the figures. So I'll be doing those either as a YouTube video or as a Patreon video, but I will be doing those separately. But then there's just some other parts in here, some antennas and stuff like that. I've got loads. My wife's always saying, where's our little plastic containers? I'm like, I don't know. They're all in here with paper towel on the bottom and little parts lining them like that. But it's just a great way to corral all the parts together and not lose track of stuff when you're working on the project. Although you don't know how many times I get to the end of a project and I'm wanting to glue on all the parts and I'm like, doggone it, I lost this part. And so I'd either, you know, have to recreate it or find it or, you know, use a spare or something like that. And then after the model was done, maybe even after it was sold, I'd go on to the next project and I just happened to look up under the paper towel and there's the part. So I'm trying to learn, always look under the paper towel if you're missing parts. Now there's a new version of Kill Team out and okay, I'll admit it. Remember that Shadow Vaults Kill Team set that I got and was, you know, wanting to build? I got it all built. I did get it all built. Oh my gosh, it took forever. I probably put in 25 hours of work building all of the walls and figures and all that. And by the time I got done, I'm like, it's going to take me forever to paint it. And I wanted to move on to this. I wanted to move on to some other stuff. So I put it back in the box and probably just, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. But I got smart because, well, I got smarter. I don't know that I'll ever be smart. But Games Workshop recently released another Kill Team set. This one is called Kill Team, the next moneymaker for Games Workshop. I don't even remember the name of it. But it comes with some of those, what are they? Alderi. They're the cone head dudes, the guys with the big pointy heads and the ponytails, and they wear the big cone head helmets. That's you see how good I am with 40K factions and lore. If they're not Space Marines and Imperial Guard and Orcs, I'm pretty lost. But they got these others that I'd never heard of. If you're in 40K, you've heard of them, but I'd never heard of them because I'm new to 40K. But it's the Adeptus Arbites, Arbites, Arbites. They're like the police force. Although like a very harsh police force that, you know, can be judged at you're an executioner, but you know how it is in the 40K world. Anyway, they released some of those, and there's some pretty cool looking figures. They look kind of like a cross between Imperial Guard and Space Marines in terms of their armor. They've got this armored helmet with a face plate and, you know, kind of crossing the aesthetics. Well, I found out smart thing to do is not order the whole Kill Team set, John, just to build one figure. Get on eBay after it's released. There's a couple of guys that I've found that clip off individual figures from every Kill Team set, and they sell those individually. So I got one of the Arbites figures. I read what he's called. I don't remember. It's kind of a nonsense name if you ask me, but it's a cool sculpt. But you can see he's got this, you know, kind of knightly looking armor on. It's going to be all black, so it's going to be, you know, kind of cool looking. Yeah, like a, you know, biker or something. He's got his handcuffs. I guess he's kind of, you know, he's a little kinky. Who knows? He's got He's got a shotgun. He's going to have a cool pose with a shotgun. He's got this shield that's going to go there. Because I bought the single figure, he didn't include the decals. So I'll either go in the stash and find, some kind of 40K number that fits the theme. I thought about painting a smiley face on there that said "Have a nice day," but I didn't know if that would be pushing it too far. He had this really crazy looking helmet piece. Is that light on? Yeah, that light's on. I guess I just got it at a weird angle. Hang on, let me see if that helps. There we go. But I don't know what that is on top of his head, but I'm like, that's so over the top. I got to paint that. And you'll notice he's shouting. So he's with all my other guys that are shouty guys. I just think it's hysterical to have the shouty guys. And then this is another piece of shoulder armor right there, right here. But I'm not sure when I'm going to do this. I may do this as a Patreon exclusive. I may do this as a quick paint job before I start releasing these things, which will give me a little extra time to work on this and get some filming done on this. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it, but I want to build this. I want to paint this because I just think it looks kind of cool. So I even made a little simple base, just put a piece of plastic over there and scribe some stuff onto it. So that looks kind of different. But the whole reason I want to do this, it's called an Arbites. And when I first read that, all I could hear is, the old commercial with Wilford Brimley, the guy who did the commercial about, he was famous for doing the diabetes commercials. But he said he wanted to talk to you about diabetes. So I'm thinking of doing the whole reason I wanted to build this was I'm thinking of doing a video where it says, well, today John's going to be building one of these Arbites. I don't know why I find that so funny. I told that to my wife and she's just staring at me and she's like, okay, how was that funny? And I'm like, because I'm an old dude with diabetes. So it's an Arbites. So we'll see how that ends up. Who knows? Now, I've become a huge fan of Dave Perryman. He's got a channel called Infernal Brush. He puts out some YouTube videos, but he does more on Patreon, and I've been following him. When he does edge highlighting, he talks about he uses a certain type of brush from Winsor & Newton, but he mentioned that there's a Rosemary & Co. equivalent, a Series 323. Well, the Series 323 is made from Kolinsky sable, which they can't ship directly here, so it's a little more difficult to get. But they also make the Series 93, which is from pure sable. Now, the difference between a Kolinsky sable and a pure sable is the Kolinsky sable were the more popular kids at sable school. The pure sable were just the regular kids. They made good grades, went and found a job, went off to a community college, and now they just do their own thing. But this is a Rosemary & Co. Series 1, and I'm pretty much sold on Rosemary & Co. I love them. They're the ones who make the brushes for Artist Opus. How about that? But this Rosemary & Co. Series 99, it's a pure sable brush. I've been using these a lot, and I really like them. They're very affordable. You can get them here in the U.S. You can get them in the U.K. I highly recommend them. If you want to go to the Kolinsky sable, Series 33 is the next step up from this, but I don't notice a whole lot of difference between the Series 33 and the Series 99. The next step up, this is what Sarastro uses, the Series 8, which are like the most elite of the Kolinsky sables. They wore the sweaters around their necks and they drove the BMWs. So anyway, he uses brushes that he talks about. Normally for painting, he would use these round brushes like this. But for edge highlighting and finer detail work, he would use these brushes that have roughly the same thickness in terms of belly, but they're shorter and they're slightly stiffer because they're shorter. And he uses those for edge highlighting. This is a Series 93 brush. Sorry if this is getting out of focus. This is a Series 93 brush. The equivalent in the Series 33 pure Kolinsky sable would be the Series 323. But it's just, you'll see, these are both size 1s. You'll see that this one just has a shorter length, so it's a little stiffer, but it's got roughly the same belly. In Artist Opus terms, this is a Series S. This would be the Series M. So I ordered a couple of those because I want to give it a try when I'm doing edge highlighting, because I don't have trouble doing edge highlighting, but these longer brushes, they tend to flex a little more, and sometimes that makes it difficult when I'm doing edge highlighting. And just going down necessarily to a smaller brush size of this doesn't always help, because then the belly gets so small that it doesn't keep much paint. So Dave Perryman has used these. I've seen Richard Gray using them some. I've seen others, mini painters that I respect. There's a lot of mini painters out there, but there's a lot of them who actually paint minis and just don't do silly stuff. So I got a couple of these to give them a try. So I'm looking for good things from these. I finally got a hold of some of the new Formula Vallejo game color. Now, I have not used these at all. Thankfully, my son had given me a gift certificate to Miniature Market for Christmas, and then he sent me one for my birthday. And so I was able to get these paints, and I've got some others on the way. They were, I ordered some, and they said they were in stock, but these things have been going so fast. And when they sent them, they said, okay, these, by the time we got to your order, these are out of stock. We'll send them. We're not going to charge any more shipping, but it's just going to take us a couple of weeks. I don't know how it is in Europe, in the UK. Right now, kind of finding these in the US, this new formula, is kind of not quite unobtainium, but it's kind of hit or miss which colors you can get. One place will have a few, another place will have a few. I'm sure it'll sort out after a while once the supply chain, because a lot of these, like I noticed a few weeks back that Miniature Market had this huge sale on the old game color paints, because I guess they were like, okay, we got to unload this stock. I'm looking forward to trying these. I've heard a few comparisons on them, but I'm always kind of wait and see, because like the initial reports I got were from guys who were hired by Vallejo, Angel Heraldez, and Juan Hidalgo worked with them, and a few other guys. Now, not that I think they're going to be dishonest, but they're not going to get on there and they're not going to say, okay, we helped them develop these paints and these paints are total crap. It's like, it's my beef with Army Painter. Army Painter has an army of people that they supply products to, and they say great stuff about them. They had these advisors that came in for their new contrast paints, and I noticed that one of them, John Nenas, just kind of suddenly disappeared. And they said, well, he's got other projects and all that, but yeah, I kind of wondered. So anyway, I've seen another couple that talked about using these paints, but I've seen the stuff they paint, and while they were fairly positive in their review of it, I kind of look at it and go, I've seen what you paint, dude. I mean, this sounds incredibly arrogant to say, not that I'm much of a painter myself, but sometimes I look at stuff and I go, okay, I've seen what you paint. I'm not convinced of your methodology or your ability to really objectively or subjectively check these paints out. So I want to see for myself. So I have not opened these. I'm going to wait till I get a few more in that are still on back order, and I'm going to resist the temptation to try and just suddenly come out and paint a few colors on a mini and declare something. I'm just going to start using these as part of the natural course of doing things. And then when I feel comfortable doing it, if I think it's worth doing, I'll say, here's what I think of them. Maybe I may just do something, a follow-up here for Patreon, for patrons, or I may do something on YouTube. Who knows? The one thing I am excited about is the few people I've heard that have put something on here where they're just comparing them to other paints, say these are much more matte than other game paints. I think it was Richard Gray that was talking about that. And I trust when I saw Richard Gray doing something about these Vallejo game color paints, I'm like, okay, I'll take that as serious truth, because Richard Gray, he's incredible, a painter, and he's not somebody who seems to he just kind of says what he thinks. So I'm looking forward to using these. I got a few of the Express colors. These are really unobtainium right here. And my main thing that I'm looking for in these, not that I have a problem with Citadel paints. I like using Citadel paints. I like almost all of their colors. There's a Games Workshop store. There's a Warhammer store here in town, so I can go get them. I'm really enjoying my Two Thin Coats paints. I really like those. But all things considered, I've never had a problem with Vallejo. There's usually great selection, and they're the best priced. These were half of what Citadel paints would cost. And, the Vallejo paints I've used in the past have, in general, been just as good as what I use from Citadel. So, again, I would not just throw away the investment I made in other paints, but, if Xandri Dust and this khaki paint, if this works pretty much like Xandri Dust, and it looks pretty much like Xandri Dust, and this looks and works pretty much like Screaming Skull, and it's half the price, I'll just start going with this. Just I've always been said, don't worry as much about brand in general as you do color. Now, like I've talked about it before, and I won't go into it long detail, but like I won't buy Army Painter paints. I just won't. I've been disappointed by them too many times. I've tried some Ravel acrylics. I wasn't impressed with them. Humbrol acrylics, not impressed with them. Hataki, it's from Poland. Not real impressed with those. Ammo of MiG acrylics, not impressed with them. But AK third generation, anything from Vallejo, Citadel, Two Thin Coats, all of those, I'm like, okay, I just look for the color, availability, and price. So I have high hopes for these, and Vallejo's a known quantity, so I'm not expecting these to stink. I'm expecting these to work really well, to just be consistent with Vallejo's standards. So look for that in some future time period, with all the other plans that I've got to do stuff and not a whole lot of time to do it. Well, I'll wrap it up here. I know this is probably kind of a pointless ramble. I just talked about what I'm doing, and it's, like I said, I hesitated to even turn the camera on because I thought this is incredibly arrogant of me. But my hope is that doing videos like this are just kind of like if we were sitting down and just talking about models. I know it's not real interactive, but this is what I think of. If I had a buddy sitting here and he said, "So what are you working on?" This is pretty much what I would have said. So if you enjoy this, if you thought, okay, that's not bad, to just sit down with nothing else to do, got nothing better to do, let me watch this thing. If it was enjoyable in that kind of way, let me know. If you think, okay, this is totally zero value to me, hey, let me know. I don't want to put out stuff that folks just find no value in. So I certainly want to do something that is in some way helpful, interesting, nap-inducing. There's a value to that. So just let me know what you think. And again, as always, thank you so much for being a patron, for supporting me, for supporting my family. I'm really grateful. And I'm not going to keep flogging this, but I do want to say once again, thank you for you being here and supporting me through this change in tiers, through this time where I've gone through being sick and trying to get projects out and just not having much success with any of it. This has been the first time, and today is March 4th. And this has been the first time in 2 months that I woke up and I'm like, hey, I'm not congested. I feel normal again. I'm slightly congested now, but I always get that way after I work in the yard because of pollen and stuff like that. But I woke up this morning and I'm like, wow, I'm totally feeling well. And that's the first time completely well, first time in 2 months. So I'm quite thankful for that. I'm hoping this will last at least a couple of days. So thank you for sticking with me through this, and thank you for your encouragement, your feedback, your friendship. I'm just always grateful for that. So I'll wrap it up and say once again, thank you for your support. Happy day to you, friends. Bye-bye.